What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to a new video on the channel. Welcome to some more Forza Horizon 5, and in today's video I'm going to take a look at the brand new or newly added car into the... Oh, so weird. My second monitor just went completely black. I was like, no, this is the end. No, but seriously. Yeah, new video on the channel on the brand new Kia EV6 GT. So this thing is a brand new car added into the game, and you get it by getting your 80 points overall. I kind of wish that we could have had this thing last week, but we couldn't because you weren't able to get as many points as you needed to be able to get it. So I had to wait until autumn now to be able to drive this thing, because they changed the way the rivals are. They didn't give us 4 rival events, they only gave us 2 of them, so we would have been short by a few points. Regardless, it's now in the game, and it's here, and we get to drive it and do stuff to it and see what's going on. I feel like every time I make one of these videos, the very beginning of it, I always try to intro it and be nice and positive and be nice, but it's always going to be the same thing. Why? I don't want this thing in the game. I don't want an electric people carrier in the game. This is not stuff that car enthusiasts like or they want. I'm sorry. I know I'm speaking for the majority. I want to say I'm speaking for the majority of people. We want cars that make noise. We want cars that are crazy looking, or we want classics or just interesting cars. And I'm sorry, but this just isn't one of them. It's a people carrier in my eyes. That's an electric people carrier pretty much. It's not low enough to be like a wagon or an estate, and it's not tall enough to be like an off-roader or an SUV or like a crossover. I don't know what it wants to be. I think it wants to be like a crossover slash coupe SUV type of thing. I don't know what it wants to be, but there's a lot of electric cars that kind of look like this nowadays. It's just a very strange thing. Here's the thing, right? I've said this before with Hyundai as well. I love the direction that they've all gone. Hyundai and Kia, they are all basically the same brand, yeah, I love the direction that they're going with the styling. I think this looks really, really good. I think from the Kia Stinger especially, when I went to this thing, it looks crazy. It looks really, really good. In terms of the styling choices that they've chosen for it. Okay? That's what I want to say. Like, I really like the headlight design. I really like the front end of this thing. It just looks really good. If it was just smaller and a bit lower, or if it was like an estate instead of having that rear end absolutely big, massive on this thing, I think it would have looked really, really good. I think it would have had a really good shape. Okay? But they decided to go with this weird MPV look for this thing, and it just... Again, it's what sells, I guess, right? It's what people will buy in real life, but this isn't a car that I think car enthusiasts like. I know some people will say, yeah, but I like this car. I wanted this car in the game. Good for you. Good for you, but I don't think the majority of the people that enjoy driving cars, or they enjoy cars themselves, really care about this. Like, I don't think people want to be like, oh yeah, let's open the bonnet and have a look at this. What? Nothing. There's nothing that's here that's covered up by a plastic like shroud on top of it. It's just gonna be loads of cables and electric motors, and that's it. You know? The interior, again, I feel like Kia have stepped up their game massively. It looks like, well, it looks modern. Has the massive screen in the middle, which again I'm not a big fan of. A lot of cars are doing it nowadays. I just feel like it's a cop out, or it's like a cheap alternative to having good design in the car, where they're now just slapping a big wide screen in the middle of it, and then that's it. You know, they're not like trying to integrate anything into anything anymore. It just all looks pretty much the same on every manufacturer. Like BMW and Audi and everything, they're all pretty much doing the same thing. VW, all that, they're all pretty much doing the same thing. So it's not really just Kia themselves that are doing it. The seats look really cool though on it. Single backrest. There's no like adjustable headrest or anything like that. They look really good. Basically, kind of bucket style seats on it. That's very, very cool. But then again, now this thing is, like I said, a family car, so it's absolutely massive inside. How much does this thing weigh? Actually, I'll have a quick little look at the stats for this thing. 577 horsepower, 730 or 740 newton meters of torque, and it weighs 2,175 kilos, which is actually quite light considering what it is. I mean, the new BMW M5 weighs 2.4 tons, almost 2.5 tons, which is ridiculous. How heavy that stupid thing is. I don't even get me started on the new M5. But yeah, let's have a quick little like poke around this thing. and see what we can do to it. We can probably engine swap or motor swap this thing. I said engine swap. We can probably motor swap this thing so we can have probably the Porsche engine in it. But apart from that, I don't really think we can do anything else. Oh, never mind. I was wrong. We can actually have little like lip spoilers and stuff on it, and a little body kit going on for this thing. Why is it this car that gets a body kit? Why this car? Out of all the cars that you've added into the game, Forza, there's so many other cars that we wish that we would have had body kits and stuff. Lots of stuff for them, and you add it for the Kia EV6. Weird, weird, weird. Anyway, I'm gonna slap it on because it looks more aggressive. It looks quite a lot more aggressive now. If we do this, put the big boy battery swap in it. I think that's the only thing that we can do, right? We can't really do anything else because I think before we were able to like. No, that's pretty much it. We're able to not only put the upgraded battery in it, but we're also able to upgrade that as well, even more. So, I don't even know what to really build this thing for, to be honest with you, because it's a bit heavy. I mean, even if we go with the full weight reduction kit on this thing, I don't think it's going to be light enough. Brakes, obviously, we'll upgrade those. And again, I don't really know what to build this thing for. Can't even put drift suspension on it? Really? Come on, game. You could have just slapped on the drift suspension. There's nothing that really would have affected this thing except for giving it slightly bigger steering angle at the front. That's a bit disappointing, isn't it? Well, I guess we can probably try and build this thing for off-roading. It's too heavy, though. It's too heavy to try anything with it. Maybe race spec? Try do some racing in this thing? I don't even know if that's a good thing or not, but I kind of want to try it. I don't know if these are going to be, like I said, I don't know if any of these cars, even the car that I'm going to take a look at in tomorrow's video, which is also brand new to the game, I don't know if that thing's going to be, you know, good for anything. We can't even lower it. That's another thing. I wish we had drift suspension so we can actually, like, slam this thing. At least it would make it look a little bit more like an estate car than, like, whatever it is now. This, whatever people carrier that it is now. We can put massive wheels on it, though. I feel like something crazy multi-spoke like these HREs kind of suit the styling for this thing, so I might do that. But again, I wish that we could just fully lower this thing. I mean, there's one way to lower it, which I'll go give it a shot. And get this thing to be a little bit lower to the ground. But don't get your hopes up, because I don't think this is going to be very good. But I'm going to show you guys what I mean by that. So if we go over into my springs, change everything as soft as possible. Dampers, I don't know if the dampers actually make a difference, but I'm going to do it anyway. Just basically make the suspension as soft as possible. Even my PSI and everything else I'm going to leave alone for now. But I want to bring this thing over onto one of my maps that has increased gravity and it presses down on the suspension. What are we looking at for colors for this thing? The blue looks really good. White actually looks really good too, but the blue looks great on this thing. Yeah, again, like I said, the design is there. It has like really weird. The front end reminds me of a Golf 8. Anyone else? Like those headlights just remind me of the Golf Mark 8. Yeah. Like I said, I really like the front end of this thing. It's just after you look at the rest of it, it's just too weird and lifted, and it's not really like appealing in my eyes anyway. It's not really that appealing. Does this have a clamshell? It does. What does it look like for chin? Looks stupid. I'm gonna leave the mirrors alone. I'm even gonna leave the wheels white. I'm gonna leave those alone as well. So let me take it on the track or on the map, and I'll show you guys what it's like once it's like fully lowered, because this is about as low as it's gonna get. Normally, but of course, once we, yeah, it's gonna be slow. I already know it's gonna be slow. It's not gonna be a quick car. It's like you can see how much it's struggling to even get up to speed. This thing has 750 horsepower, by the way. It's got like was it 900 newton meters of torque? Yeah, 962 newton meters of torque. Yeah, I mean, it could get pretty low. Alright, let's bring it over on the map, because apart from this, I don't really know what to really build this thing for. I kind of would have wanted it to be, what's it called? To be, I need to go to my events, don't I? Wet evening, yeah, we'll go with wet evening, that's a good one. If you want to use any of these, I've made a full video on these and on how these work. and you can find the shake rods for all of those, or you can just go on Event Labs and just look up my name, my username. You'll be able to find it there. All right, but yeah, I don't know what to really build this thing for, because it's not going to be good for racing. It's going to be too slow. See what I mean? Look how much better it looks when it's like really, really low. Like I said, it just looks more like an estate car, and it's kind of what I wanted this thing to be. I think if the roofline was lower, if it wasn't as big, and it wasn't like a coupe S. Actually, the coupe design, not really that mad about it, to be honest. But if the roofline was a little bit low, if the doors weren't so massive, and that rear pillar wasn't so gigantic, and this thing was a little bit lower, I think it would make a better looking car. But because it's so bulky and big, it's a bit dumb looking. Yeah, like I said, if this was closer to an estate car, or even like a Porsche Panamera style, like coupe-esque saloon thing, I think it could look pretty decent. This is what it looks like once it's fully lowered in photo mode as well. You can see how low this thing actually is. It's not incredibly low, and don't expect it to be super, super low, but this is about as low as you're gonna be able to get this thing. I think you can probably get a tiny bit lower by lowering the tire pressures and changing the tires from these slick ones to the rally ones. I think the rally ones have much less, I guess, a much smaller like profile to them, I guess. But yeah, again, once it's slightly modified, it actually doesn't really look that bad. But again, I see the design cues here. I see the line that goes from here and it goes up into the taillight and makes it look like that. I mean, again, like I said, I think the design language for this thing is very, very cool. I like the design for it. I just don't like the shape of it. I just think that they could have made it so it's more of like an estate car. See, like now, the way it looks like this, it looks more like an estate car because it's lower. Because it sits so high up off the ground. Again, like I said, it's basically what people want. People want crossovers. People want SUVs. But it's not what a car enthusiast wants. And again, like I said, there's so many other cars that they could have added into this game, but they added this thing. I feel like this thing around the track in real life is kind of alright. It's kind of fun to drive. I think I watched Misha drive this thing around the Nürburgring. Didn't he have, like, I think he might have had like a long-termer, one of these, I'm pretty sure. He was just testing around and driving it around the track and stuff, so that was pretty interesting. Alright, well, since this thing has race spec everything, let's bring it over on the track, I guess, and try it out there as well, because might as well, you know? Why not? Alright, there it is on the Eagle circuit, or Edel circuit, however you want to pronounce this thing. Yeah, I changed my tone as well. I didn't leave it, so it's just fully soft, because that would have been a bit dumb. So we'll see what this is like. I basically built it the way I build my regular cars. Let's see. Whoa, it's hefty. It wants to go wide. Oh, it really wants to understeer. Again, keep in mind that I'm on full slick tires here. It wants to lean out and go wide. It really wants to understeer. And if it doesn't understeer, it just kind of trails wide, basically. Brakes are pretty decent, though. Accelerating out of corners is alright. I also kind of extended my gear. I was going to say gear ratios, but just my one gear. I extended it so it's just a little bit longer. Acceleration is a bit worse though, but this thing like topped out at 160, so I don't really want that to happen. I feel like this could have been kind of an interesting car to try and slide, but since they didn't put in the drift suspensions, which is a bit dumb, can't really do it. Can't even try it. Yeah, it's a chunky boy. I'll tell you that. Big chunkster, this one. I mean, this is an S1, like high S1. This is like nowhere near anything in terms of times. What was the top of S1? S2 is around like 128, something like that. Like a really good car. Like the race cars that were added into the game a while back. I just remember those because I drove them back to back, basically. And I tested them all out, tuned and not tuned. So I just remember those times. They're all like around really, really low 130s to the high 120s. I mean, I am comparing race cars to this though, so I mean, can't really be too too hard on this car. But I want to do a run here. If I get like lowish 130s with it, I'll be pretty happy with it. It's not even at the top of S1. I mean, I don't think I can even make it go to the top of S1. This is probably as high in class that I can possibly bring it, right? Like everything's been upgraded on it. Tires, suspension, weight. Electric motor as well. It's got the best one or the most powerful one. Tiny bit off the track, but that's okay. What are we looking at the time here now? The low 130s is what I said. It's gonna do 132. 132.5 is not bad. It's alright. We take those. We take those. For a people carrier, it's actually not that bad. Again, probably with a better tune you can get this thing to be a little bit faster, but it definitely does feel hefty. You can see it as well when I'm going a bit too fast to the corner and I'm lifting off and trying to get it to obviously come in a little bit. It does kind of want to trail wide a little bit. Yeah, it's not going to be competitive for anything. I don't think so anyway. I mean, it could be alright maybe for off-road races or rally races or whatever. But I don't see it just from initial driving and just the way this thing handles. I don't see this thing being very competitive. But it would have been funny if they did make this thing very competitive. It would just be something ridiculous again. It is something that Forza would do. Where they'll have something like this be like an incredibly good like handling car with the upgrades. Because it's always the same, right? They'll always like add something ridiculous in the game and they'll be like, oh yeah, here you go mate. This is the best handling car. Or this is the fastest car in the game now. Which they did back in the day. But yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting car. If you enjoy this type of stuff, which I really don't, so I don't really care for it to be honest. I think there's so many other cars that they could have added into the game. But again, if this is your cup of tea, then I guess you can probably be a little happy that this was added into the game. I'm going to stop driving it because it's really, really boring. It's a really, really boring car. Okay, well, that's it. Kia EV6 GT. There are some upgrades for it. You can make it really low if you bring it over. Well, not really low, but you can make it lower than what it is and makes it look a little bit more like an estate than whatever this is. But yeah, again, like I said, if this is your cup of tea, then I guess you're happy with it. But it's not mine. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of this thing being added to the game. If you like it, if you don't like it, or whatever. But yeah, anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.